Welcome to Kapeleris Talk TV. Our next guest is CEO and founder of the Profit Center and SPP Coaching, Peter Mueller. Welcome.
Yes, hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you.
Peter, tell us a little bit about yourself and what is the Profit Center?
Well, a little bit about myself. I guess I've been very fortunate to be in the real estate industry since I was 19 years old, so it's been about 30-something years.
Wow.
And it's been a really exciting journey. I've sort of touched on all different aspects of this industry, being an agent, a manager, a broker, owner, and now consequently founded the Profit Center in 2008 and doing coaching, training, consulting.
Oh,
so
that's great.
Yeah, a little bit of my...
Why did you start the Profit Center?
Well, that's a great question. Actually, very passionate about it. I was very fortunate to find myself in an industry that I was very comfortable in. Being a salesperson nature, it came very easily for me.
Yes.
But because I, had that nature, I also had this very energetic personality, and I didn't focus on a lot of other things than selling houses and giving service, obviously, to my clients. But I found that I struggled when it came to managing my money, and even though I was doing very
most people
well,
do.
yeah, exactly. So what happened was, over the course of my career, I finally sort of got to a point where I realized I needed to make some changes, and I had hired an outside consultant to help me, and he really helped me understand what it was that I was doing wrong. I wasn't focusing on the other side of the coin of managing profit, which is financial operations management.
Right.
So when I finally understood that concept and I really saw how it really changed my business and my life, that's really what was the foundation for starting the Profit Center, just realizing what an effect that made on me.
Yeah, from your own experience.
My own experience, yeah.
Let's start by talking about some of your core messages, and you have several, but here's one that I really like. What you measure gets improved.
Right, right.
Are you talking about tracking your results when it comes to financing?
It actually, that fundamental principle is applicable to just about everything in life, but ultimately, yes, that is my core focus, is towards when it comes to money management. But however, of course, the one challenge that people have is, it can be challenging or difficult, and if it's overwhelming, they won't do it.
Right.
Right, so it's very important.
So you have to measure it all the time in order to progress.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like with anything. If you keep your eye on the right numbers and know what those right numbers are, then you ultimately, even subconsciously, your mind starts to work towards improving.
Right, exactly. Here's another one, another core message. What good is it to inspire someone down the wrong road when you need education to turn them around? Do you think people lack financial education?
Absolutely. I was a key example of that. I've made every mistake in the book, and I guess maybe that's what helped me sort of understand what most people are dealing with. There's no question about it, but if I could speak to that point a little bit deeper, I'm very passionate about that point, because when I was in my career and I would go to coaching and training and get consulting, every time that I would invest into something, it was always about the same thing. They were always trying to help me make more money.
Right.
And that's all well and good, and that kind of speaks to what it is that you wanted, but really, was it really what we needed? And when I realized that people were motivating me down the wrong road, it was really the education that needed to turn me around. And that's what happened to me when I hired the right person. They taught me that principle, and I realized, oh my gosh, that's what I needed all this time. And that's why it's one of my favorite quotes.
Perfect. Then here's another one. The next one is stop making money and start building wealth. Isn't making money building wealth?
Yeah, I
what do you
actually
mean
say,
by that?
Yeah, I love that. I actually say stop just making money and start building wealth.
Okay.
You see, I know a lot of people that make money and are really good at making money, but they're not building wealth. All they're doing is increasing their lifestyle, and unfortunately, even what happens is they make money to the extent where they actually owe more to the government, and they're actually further behind.
Right.
So that's kind of what I mean about stop just making money and start building wealth. Be focused on that other side of the coin, which is critical.
Yes, that's right. How does one, excuse me, how does one define and create specific goals?
You know what? That is a great question. And we actually created a segment called How to Create Relevant and Specific Goals and Measurable. You know, there's an acronym called SMART goals, which means specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. But you need to have a little bit of guidance, I think, in creating those goals. You can have goals in respect to how you handle your money.
Right.
You can have goals in respect to how much you'd like to earn.
Yes.
And things of that nature. So it needs a little guidance to define those.
Yeah, and I actually think that you have a great free online 2-minute business planning application on your website,
Right.
which is accessible for free,
Yeah.
that people can help them do that. Can you give us a short synopsis of how it works?
Sure. It's a we call it the 2-minute business plan. Essentially, the reason why we use that terminology is because it literally takes 2 minutes, but essentially we don't want to diminish its value. So if you have an Android or a smartphone of any sort, an Apple, you just go to your App Store,
Right.
your Google Play. You type in The Profit Center, 3 separate words, and center is spelled the Canadian way,
Yeah.
Centre. I think you can spell it both ways, you'll still get it. But so you can download the app. It is a free app, and it allows you to put in, once you install it, create a username and password. Or you can go to our website, which is theprofitcenter.com, and
Right.
click on our banner ad and register there. You can get access to this same tool. What that tool essentially allows you to do is to put in some key numbers as in respect to, especially as a business person, their goal for how much they'd like to earn.
Right.
And you know, in respect to real estate, what their average transaction price is, or value of home, the average sale price, average commission per side. And then if they just click Save and Calculate, based on the benchmarks that we establish at the Profit Center, will determine your key metrics for success, as I call it.
Right, right.
Now, it is applicable for a consumer or any sort of business person, but it was mainly designed for the industry that I'm involved with, which is the real estate industry.
Right, so let's let's take a consumer first.
Sure.
And let's do a hypothetical
Right.
scenario for a
Okay.
consumer. What numbers would they put in, and what can they expect that the app will tell them?
Yeah, I guess if you're any sort of a business owner or entrepreneur, someone who maybe doesn't get paid a salary but has business expenses, what they would want to do in there is maybe establish how much revenue they think they'll probably gross.
Right.
And once you put that number into the app, you would ignore the other two metrics that we have there, like sale price and commission per side, obviously. But where the app becomes applicable for the consumer is the 5 metrics that we've established as what we call best practices.
Right.
This is in respect to the 5 bank accounts. So one of the things we recommend is
Yes.
that you establish 5 bank accounts.
Let's talk about that. That's
Sure.
important.
Absolutely. It's really important because it's, you know, if financial management is difficult and challenging and you need a degree for it, nobody's going to do it. It's not going to work. If it's simple and easy, that's the important thing. So what we designed was a simple process, which is basically, look, if nothing else, create 5 accounts. You got a personal account for your personal living expenses. You have savings, which is money you can spend. In
Yes.
this case, like
Yeah.
vacation and things of that nature. Then you have a profit account, which is my favorite account.
Right.
Okay,
My favorite account too.
Right, pay yourself first. This is the money you invest. So profit you invest, savings you can spend.
Right.
So you have personal savings and profit on the personal side, and then on the business side, you have a business account, business operations account, and you have a tax account.
Right.
Now, especially
That's
for those that
important.
are independent
Self-employed.
contractors, self-employed, this is critical.
Very critical.
Now, how that becomes very valuable or easy to implement, if now what you do, all you did is establish a percentage of the gross goal that you have to each one of those accounts. So already have it set out in stone. This is the percentage I'm going to put into personal. This is how much I'm going to put in the savings. This is how much into profit. This much into my business operations so I can generate more revenue, right? Because you need to invest in your business to create more sales. And that's kind of what I was saying before.
Right.
Having a plan means also realizing you need to invest back into it to create more, let's call it wealth.
Right.
And taxes. Man, the worst thing that ever happened to me was when they gave us all the money to deal with. I used to have my commissions taken at source, and I didn't have to worry about the paying taxes. Now they gave me all the money, and I totally mismanaged it because I put all my money into one account, a checking account, and that's where the issue lies. That's where the problems start.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And I think we should add too that the app does the calculations automatically.
Absolutely, yeah.
Once you put all 4 or 5 different numbers in that they ask you to put in, all the calculations come up automatically. And it's great for real estate agents too because it helps service their clients better, run a better business as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And because of the market rhythm of sales, for instance, so anybody in sales realizes your market rhythm looks like this. You make money here, you collect it over here, and it goes up and down like a roller coaster. I think one of the best ways to handle that is just paying yourself a salary on a regular basis. But if you use that app, it's about assigning, you got 100% to deal with. You have 5 areas to fund in your life, whether you like it or not. And unfortunately, when I do this presentation throughout North America, most agents, for instance, as an example, would say, oh my gosh, Peter, I need 110% of my gross or my net, not 40%.
Yeah.
And that's what I call best practice, to live off of 40% of your net, 10% to savings, 10% to profit, 20% back into your business to reinvest, and 20% to set aside for taxes. That adds up to 100%.
Yeah, yeah. Although it sounds complicated, when people do go to the website or the app, they will realize how simple that it is. And it's great that you're giving people access to this for free. But what's one simple tip that you can give just the general consumer on savings and increasing their financing? What's just one smart tip?
I think the smart tip for the novice, if you will, and I'll put myself into that category too, is just if you have you set up 5 accounts, 5 bank accounts, it makes your job easy because now when you look at, you have 5 different balances to look at. Depending if if you don't have to invest in business, that's a different thing. But you have all these different balances to look at. You know exactly what you can spend in a particular segment of the life that you're living. So that's the number one, I think, advice I could give.
That's a really good tip because most people just have 1 or 2 accounts.
Right, and you blend it all together. You lose track and lose total control.
Exactly.
If I could share a real quick example,
Sure.
One of the coaching clients I work with, and we're on a call twice a month, and she said to me, Peter, the biggest epiphany I had was having that separate business account when I wanted to invest in this marketing area that we talked about in building your business. I knew that I could invest that money. Even with my spouse, didn't give me grief about it because he knew that I had that account that was specifically carved out for that purpose.
Right. Just
so
put it there and put it there and then forget about it and know that it's there for that purpose.
Yeah, it's simple.
Yeah.
It's simple. You don't have to have a degree in order to implement something like that.
So basically, all money should be managed like a business, correct?
Absolutely.
And this is what the app does.
Yes, that's right.
Now, you also did a video on the 5 purposes of business.
Right.
And you made 5 points. Can you go through those points and elaborate on each one?
Absolutely. The number one purpose of a business is to make a profit. Now, I know that sounds obvious, but it's not always applied. Sometimes people think the number one purpose of a business is to make money. There's a difference between that. I know a lot of people and businesses with millions of dollars in gross with sales, and I'm not talking about sales individuals, I'm talking about businesses, where they make a lot of money, but they make 0 profit and even worse, negative profit. The number one purpose of a business is to make a profit.
Right.
Now, how many people do you even know budget for profit? People budget for expenses, but they don't budget for profit. So that's number one purpose.
Yes. Yes, very good.
Yeah.
And I think you're also talking about differentiation and professional fulfillment, intention to sell, and create free time. Those are your 5 purposes of business. But number one, the profit is more important.
Profit is number one. Number 2 is leveraging your time. And again, this speaks to realizing what your value is, what you're worth, and not working in areas that do not maximize what your value is. And see, when you start a business too, if you only work to create a job for yourself, you haven't leveraged your time. Even worse is when, like say, a real estate agent starts a brokerage and they don't pay themselves a management salary, but they're still selling real estate and they're building this company. They've done the complete opposite of leveraging their time. They've taken any free time away that they've even had.
Exactly. That's a good point, Peter. Before we go, tell us quickly, what are the first steps one must take to control their financing and start budgeting for profit? What are the first steps?
The first step is go to the bank and set up 5 accounts. And depending if those 5 accounts are applicable to your life and what you're doing. So again, there's a personal account, let's call it your checking account. You have your savings account, 2 separate. You have your profit account. See, that's a separate piece, separate budget, separate amount. Then you have your operations account if you're a self-employed individual, and you have your tax account if you have to pay taxes on your own. That's the first step. Just do that. Here's the second thing. Just decide today what percentage of every check you collect goes in each account. Even if it's something like this, and I know this sounds weird, 95% 1111. Even if that, even you said, oh my gosh, I can't do this, just get into the habit every time you get a check that you just distribute it accordingly. Because remember you said, we talked about what you measure gets improved?
Yes.
If that's what you do all the time, it's always in your mind. You're always just, it's a simple habit.
Yes.
Once you do that habit, then you can maybe increase it to 90%, 2, 2, 2, and 3. And then that's what you measure gets improved, and you're always getting better at this. It's simple.
That's great. That's great advice, Peter. Thank you for being here. Can you tell people where they can reach you and what's your website?
Absolutely. You can reach me at theprofitcenter.com. That's spelt the Canadian way, with the word center, C-E-N-T-R-E. Yes, at theprofitcenter.com. You can reach us at info@theprofitcenter.com to contact us. If you want help with that app, maybe even a consumer, I'd be happy to walk you through the process, show you how to do it. We're happy to help. It's our pleasure. We really believe in our message and what we do for individuals and businesses. So that's the best way to get a hold of us.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. Thank you.